Linux lovers, my name's Wimpy. Welcome to my world. This was originally recorded live on twitch.tv/Wimpy's World on the 14th of December. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, then do give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join in interactively. And hello already to Takov and Luke. Thanks very much for joining me. Today, hello, I'm not sure if you can see some of the impact of what's happening there. Hello, Yannick. Everything's new. The channel points are all a bit different. So the redemptions will do slightly different things or very different things. So feel free to experiment. And as you do that, I'm going to get into what I've been making here. So today's stream, I'm going to be looking at OBS Studio on Linux and how I've automated a whole bunch of stuff with some utilities and shell scripts and Aitum. You're getting a hint of like what's going on here now. So that's the release the Kraken redemption. So as you can see, the lighting is fully integrated into the stream now as well. So there we go. You're getting the idea. So hopefully those are all firing and triggering. Yeah, this is, what is it, Eon? Yeah. Team Cucumber, yeah, I think maybe the Chelsea Cucumber Breakfast Club or something. So, thanks to Aitum being available, and most importantly being available for Linux, it opened up a whole bunch of possibilities with regards to... Hello Linux Paul, good morning. Welcome back. I'll go through it all, Yannick, but yes, Aitum is doing lots of calls to other things. I've reworked like absolutely everything, so I've got a much better setup in front of me. I've got much better visibility of what's going on. I can see Twitch thinks my bandwidth is unstable, so we'll see how. Oh no, it's evening out. It's evening out now. Okay then. So what? Also, Linux Paul, hey that noob, welcome. You followed me last week, first time watching, really love those channel points. Good, the channel points are significantly upgraded. Paul requested the Christmas tree one, which if anyone's got enough dough to get that one to go, that's had a significant upgrade as well. I'll see if anyone can rustle up the necessary things there. Hey RW Grim, welcome. There we go. Apparently things weren't Christmassy enough around here, so hopefully this does it for you, Paul. And as you can see, integrated with the lights as well. So yeah, all the channel points have some kind of lighting effect, which I've still got loads I want to do, but I think it's good enough to have a play now. Hey Mayek, hey, good to see you again. Yeah, I'm good. Oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that. So Yannick says he's listening. So not going to watch too much. Okay, well you can follow along a bit later. So let me try and explain a few things. So, the streaming also new. Thanks very much for the resub, Meg. So there we go. You're getting a feel for the extra bits and bobs that are built in now. Hello, who's that? Hey Dust. Hello, how you doing? So I'm just starting my explanation of what I've got here, but people have twigged that I've revved up the channel points a little bit. So what was that? What caused that to fire off, I wonder? That was a bit delayed. Okay. So Luke, this is new. So there we go. That's probably doing a little bit of everything there. So that's yeah, the lights and everything going there. Thanks, Yannick. I'm going to show how all of this is working in just a moment. Dust, I'm sure you do. Feel free to ask. I'm gonna go through everything. I'm gonna like go through everything that I've got set up here. Hello, that noob. I'll let everyone have fun with the channel points before I get into this too much. But it's having the desired effect. I was hoping that, you know, this would add a little bit more pizzazz and fun to proceedings. Right then. So yeah, there's a couple of new ones in there. I think people have found Chelsea Cucumber. I think there's a couple of other ones in there as well. I think only one doesn't have a lighting effect at the moment, and that's because I haven't finished. Sorry, I'm not finished, but we are, you know, getting there. Hey TC, how you doing? Welcome back. So on this screen, this view that I'm looking at, I've put myself in this, you know, box here. What I've done is I've made the chat slightly smaller, and this is so when I get to the code view. Oh, there we go. Someone's found the new one. This is for when I'm having a moment of deep thought and contemplation. This has the most subtle lighting effect, just to sort of, you know, simulate an old library. And something else I've done is I've integrated with featured chat. So let's have a look here. So, for example, Luke put this comment in earlier, so I can bring that up as a featured chat overlay now. So there's a whole bunch of changes. A lot of it is quality of life improvements for me to make it really easy to just start streaming. So a lot of this automation is so I can do the preparation I need to do technically for the thing that I want to talk about, but not have to think about how to get the whole setup going. So I've resized things over here on the chat so that resolution leaves a usable space for me to do coding in. Dust says he has questions. Dust, is that you clicking on that in the moderator area by any chance, or somebody else doing that? But yeah, so there we have a group of moderators as well now who have kindly offered to help me out, which is terrific. So thank you to everyone. Mod stuff is working, says Yannick. Indeed. So the first change is to change the layout and resolution so that I can do live coding and have enough usable space. And I'm going to show some like views of what I have in front of me, but also that I look at OBS. I look at the preview window because when I live code, I actually have my code editor in the preview area. And I've rearranged even the way OBS is arranged so that I get exactly a 1080p window or preview area. So it's easy because, as you can see, I wear glasses.
Thank you for the follow, Ray_J.
Thanks very much for the follow. Okay then. So I've made a bunch of changes just to OBS to make it easier for me to drive and use. For the chat monitoring, I'm using the featured chat just to see it, and I have another area of chat available in a different area of the screen. I'm going to have to do some screenshots and things to sort of show all of this off, but there's a whole bunch of stuff. So to be something Chelsea I've been wanting to do that Chelsea Cucumber one for ages. So Esme, thank you for queuing these messages up. Who's ever in the chat doing this, thank you. So Esme asks, oh my goodness, are your actual lights flickering? Oh my goodness, yes they are. So all of the channel, nearly all of the channel points have some kind of associated lighting effect now. My favorite is Fireball. If anyone kicks that one off, that's my absolute favorite one. My daughter and I had an absolute hoot making these. So there we go. Right, here we go. No sound effects yet. That's still to be worked on, but there we go. So yeah, a bunch of different different lighting effects as well. You like that, Esme? Brilliant. Okay, so let's just run through like what the scenes look like. So you'll see that I've now got some basic stats in the lower third there, which I want to improve, but you know, that's something I had in the past and I've brought back. So if I go to the code view, this is how the code view looks. So I'm now continuing to face the right way. The image on my shirts won't be inverted anymore, and I have slightly more screen space available here to work in, at least my view. So it means that, for example, when I bring up a code editor, it occupies more of the screen, so it should be easier for people to see on the stream, and it should is much easier for me to work with as well. And yes, Dust has noticed that I have gone in and fixed the my hack on the Tumblr. There is a nasty hack you can do in Tumblr to do that. So really, Tumblr's, this is interesting in itself. This website automatically maintains itself. I never post content there. It all happens by magic. But it's also basically just somewhere I can say go here and you can find all of the links to places. So I fixed that, reinstated the GitHub, which somehow disappeared, and also the Telegram for notifications for those people that like Telegram. So this is like my live coding area, and I have my phone here, which is relevant. So this is for when I'm doing capture stuff, like with the Raspberry Pi. And this is, you know, a consistent overview, you know, a way of sort of switching between these views. And I've brought back some of my sort of transitions from the past, where I've got this fake desktop thing working where you can't quite tell what's desktop and what's not, which I'm quite a fan of. But one of the other things I've been working on is if I bring up this, where is it now? So many things open today. If I go here, we'll talk about this a bit more later. This is Unix StreamDeck, and if I just go to the overhead view, you can see here's my StreamDeck here, and I'm going to push this button here, and you'll see all of these icons just changed. All of these represent different different consoles. So here's what that view looks like, and what this enables me to do is all of the emulator support that I'm working on. I've got all the right resolutions and aspect ratios programmed into OBS. So for example, when I'm in here and I choose Game Boy, it will bring in a cropped sized view that is exactly right for the Game Boy. By comparison, the Atari Lynx looks a little bit different. It looks like that. So it automatically is switching the resolutions, scaling, aspect ratios for the console that I want to play or work on. So I've done a bunch of work to sort of really improve that, which I'm very happy with. So that's new. And then of course I can switch back to, if I just want to see the whole thing, I can switch back to this view. So that's sort of a common look and feel. Then of course you've seen the overhead view, which looks like this. And then if I bring up this here, I'll just go into here and say allow. Oh, there, you should do the right thing. Allow that. So hopefully I've got my phone here, you can see now. If I switch to the phone view, there we go. So I've now got my phone set up here. So there's an infinity view. So you can actually see my OBS layout there. I can show that a bit better, but this is the other monitor with all the other stuff on it. So you can see how I've got Twitch laid out here, so I can see what's going on. I've got chat and the preview and the bandwidth, and then all of the oops, the phone's gone off. That's the only annoying thing. For some reason it doesn't stay on all the time. Anyway, so you can see how I've got that laid out. Now, something that's happened here is there's a whole bunch of applications open here. There's a bunch of tabs open. All of this got opened automatically, and all of the windows placed at the correct size and location. So I have a single button on my Stream Deck which will open everything, all of the tabs, multiple windows, and then arrange them across the 3 screens, all pixel perfect in the right places, and I'm going to explain all of that. And the reason for that is it would take about 20 minutes to open everything, open all the tabs, arrange and size all of the windows before you even get to start streaming. And the script that does that knows when it's here or when it's at the lodge, and it sizes things differently because I have different monitor arrangement in the different places. And the whole setup, the OBS configuration and all of the scripts coexist in both. So I've got a single set of configurations for YouTube and Twitch for streaming from 2 different locations on 2 different computers, and it automatically will adapt the whole setup for wherever I am. So let's start with looking at some of the code. I think if you've got questions, do post them, and I now have a means of actually highlighting them. Also, there is a highlight my message redemption. If you use that, it will automatically place your message in the featured chat queue, so it's easy to then put it on screen. It's much more visible to me. Right then, yes. So I now see that as a featured message. It highlights it, and it's very easy for me to then pick it off the featured chat and display that. So let's take a look at what we've got here. There's a few other things as well that I'll get to in a moment, but if we start down here, we'll come back to Stream Deck a bit later. Let's start with some scripts. So the first script that I have, which I suppose is relevant to here, if I go to the home screen, this is my Stream Deck configuration, and I'm using Stream Deck Unix, which is a Go application, a back-end daemon which actually runs the whole thing, and then a front-end GUI configurator. So here are a bunch of hotkey buttons. If I was to push this 1080p 30 button here, it would call this script, and it looks at the profile I've requested, and it automatically switches that profile name in OBS. And then, based on the profile I've selected, it then runs through a whole bunch of changes to the OBS configuration. So it loads a particular scene collection, and then it knows that this is a Twitch configuration, so it goes in and it disables the YouTube chat overlays and enables the Twitch chat overlays, for example, and does the same for my alerts and the follower train and the goals and the calls to action. So I have one configuration with multiple sources for YouTube and Twitch, and this script automatically enables and disables the sources based on where I'm streaming and what profile I'm using. So that does a whole bunch of stuff, including monkey patching my outro to make it more Twitch appropriate. So you'll see that at the end of the stream today, the outro is a bit different, and that's specifically for Twitch. And then I also have a thing here that calls another script, and it's called OBS camera offset. So you can see in this square here, I am sort of center of frame. But if I go to the main window Oops, I nearly pressed the wrong button entirely then. That was close. That would have created chaos and mayhem. So if I go to the main view, you'll notice I'm actually set off to one side. And at Desk Lodge, I'm centered. So what this offset does is I have sort of a source mirror of the camera with a transform to shunt it over to one size, and also to punch it out a little bit so that when I crop myself in these, smaller, tessellated squares and circles, it preserves as much of the image as possible. So what this does is it automatically selects the correct offsetted camera based on the location. So it uses the host name of the machine that I'm streaming from to know how to automatically offset the camera. So again, these are things I don't have to go through the OBS configuration and click and push a bunch of visibility buttons in order to change the setup appropriately. And it does the same for my work stream. So these scripts also manage all of the streams I do for Slim DevOps as well. Right, I saw there was a highlighted message, so I'm going to just bring that up here. So Takov says, like this, he says, my password is test when I test. It's a good choice of password. And then he says, in serious news, Raspbian got a 10 score CVE number because the default Pi password. Yeah, I can believe it. So there we go. Right then. Did you? Yes, and then we've got jokes about log4j, which is doing the rounds. Poor Java, can't catch a break, can it? So this is a script behind my configure button, which basically just sets up a bunch of sources and scenes relevant to where I'm streaming, and this does camera manipulations. And I'm very happy with this. It saves me a bunch of time. And then if we go back to the Stream Deck, you'll see here, this is my start recording button, and this is my stop recording button. In fact, there's a far more important script we should look at first. So if we go back to the home screen, this button here is the launch all my applications. So we'll go and look at that, because I press the configure button first, and then I press the launch my apps button. So let's just go and look at what launch my apps does. So here's a big long list of apps: OBS, Discord, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Spotify, Code, GitKraken, Streamlabels, which I'm desperately trying to get rid of. I might have some requests for help on that one. Sakura, which is a terminal emulator, and then Aitum. And it goes through and it says, is this app running? If it's not, launch it. And it launches these things in a slightly different way. So what this does is that from having absolutely nothing running on my machine, it launches all of those applications. And then it does this. Depending on the machine I'm on, it then places all of the windows. So Streamlabels. Have you got something in the works there? I hope so, Dust. I really want to get rid of it. I feel dirty using anything from Streamlabs, but it's the only thing that I found that was trivial to get what I needed. So it's just sucking data out of Twitch and YouTube, basically. So here we have the two hosts again, and then it arranges a whole, like OBS, it puts on this monitor and it maximizes it, and then it puts Google Code. So the Visual Studio Code is what I'm using here. You will notice that as I tab through the windows, GitKraken is exactly the same place and the same size as as Visual Studio Code, and also as as the browser. And also somewhere in here the terminal. So all of these get arranged here, all ready for me to use, all the right size, all the font scaling's accurate and all the rest of it. So this is a massive time saver. So I've pushed 2 buttons, my stream's configured, all of my apps have been opened on all 3 screens and have all been resized and have been put in exactly the right places. And I've made sure that I've got layouts in the Stream Manager for Twitch, for Home and the Lodge. And they're also, you know, adapted to the different screen resolutions in both those places. So this is a huge time saver and something I've been meaning to do for the longest time. And I love this. So that's what this is. And then the place window script is this here, and it just uses WMCTL and XRander to sort of work out the sizes of monitors and the various offsets. And you know, you pass it some parameters and it then sizes it. It's a bit freaky watching it run because you just see a ton of windows open and then they all start dancing around as they get shunted around the place. But you know, it's a huge time saver. And everything, all of the equipment that I've invested in for streaming, I've only ever bought equipment if it saves time. That's my main motivation for buying new gear for streaming, is if it saves me time and means that it's easier for me to do a stream. And all of this software work is sort of, you know, an expression of that. So that's like configured and launched. I think I've seen some chats here, so let's just see what we've got here. Oh, see you, Esme. Okay, right, so Dust is saying that yes, they're working on something that could replace stream labels. That would be fab. I really need that. Updates next year with WebSocket 5. Yes. So are they integrating WebSocket? So here's Dust's message. Let's actually use the system. So Dust said this. Oh, I caught it. You're going to hate it when OBS updates next year with WebSocket 5 built in. So is the WebSocket plugin going mainline? Is that what's happening? I know it's coming. I'm still using 491 at the moment because I believe there's some compatibility issues. Could add an example of that to the YouTube video. What's this? A different conversation, I think. So, oh!
Thank you for the follow, Eltmon.
Thank you very much for the follow, Eltmon. Welcome to the stream. So the next bit that we have is if I just bring up the StreamDeck configuration again, is we have the start recording and stop recording buttons, and these do quite a bunch of stuff. So start the stream. The first thing it does is it calls out to a script which is a wrapper around a Hue Lights tool to set my lights to their default configuration. That's nice and straightforward. And then we also make sure the camera offset is correct every time. And then there's a bunch of sort of pre-setup with some of the sources that I have to make sure that they're correctly set. So we turn some things on and off, and we disable the call to action animations whilst like the starting screens are up and running and stuff like that, the starting soon thing. So it's kind of like a minimal version of what the configure script does. It's just a few of the final tweaks that we need. And then we move into the audio setup. Well, first of all, here is if this utility is available, which is for the Majorwell capture card I use here, then it knows it needs to configure the cameras. So then it calls out and it configures all 4 capture ports on the Majorwell. And that's because sometimes when you get an update to the drivers, it defaults a bunch of settings. So this just makes sure all of the settings are how I actually want them each time. I never have to think about it again. Then we set the default audio device, just because Pulse Audio has a habit of changing default audio devices. And then we move Spotify audio playback to its own Pulse Audio sync, simply called music. We then mute the Spotify player entirely. We have another sync for game audio, and we set that to 75%. That's so when I play games, the game audio doesn't blow people's ears out, because sometimes games can be mega loud. And then we set the music volume to 100%. So the music sync is separately controlled from the Spotify sync. And then we do a bunch of stuff. So this is for work. This is mega simple, but this is what I use for my streams. So the first thing we do is we call out and start streaming. And this is going through the WebSockets. Then we start recording. So I have a local recording of all of my streams. Then we set a scene, a source in a scene. And this basically does a fade in as the stream comes up. So what I'm trying to do here is I embed all of my stinger transitions and everything at the top and tail of the streams, and I'm also trying to create those basic audio and video effects of fading in and fading up audio and video, so you don't have to do any of that in post, which is another time-saving exercise. We then set to the intro screen, which runs my little stinger with the world, and then goes to the starting soon screen. And once the starting soon comes up, we run this script here, which calls to Spotify, and this tells Spotify to set the volume to 75% and start playing a new track from the currently selected playlist. So that's what's going on there. And then we use OBS CLI to create a 120-second countdown. So what this does is there's a label in one of my scenes, and this basically constantly updates that label with a countdown timer for 120 seconds. So we set that timer going, and we then make that label visible. So if you were here at the very beginning of the stream, you would have seen that counting down. We then, wait for our little timer, and whilst this is running, Aitum, I'll just bring up Aitum. Aitum is in the mix here. Oh, that's not Aitum. Aitum is here, and it's on a different screen. So let's bring Aitum down here. I need to just resize it. There we go. So Aitum has an integration that hooks into this, which is down here. No, it's not. That's a complete lie. It's up here. And it has this start stream. And this rule says, look for a scene change in OBS to the starting scene. So that script handles that transition. And then what Aitum does is runs a 90-second ad on Twitch. And so the purpose of my starting soon screen is to let people know the stream is coming, but really what I'm actually doing is running 90 seconds of ads whilst nothing's happening on the stream. So it disables pre-roll ads for 30 minutes. So at this point in the stream, anyone new that joined the stream wouldn't have seen a pre-roll, because I ran these ads manually, in air quotes, at the start of the stream. So that's the purpose for my starting soon, transition stuff, actually to run an ad to disable pre-rolls for as long as, that's the maximum you can do, is a 30-minute pre-roll turn off. So that's what's going on there, and Aitum plays its role in all of that. So that's why we have this little countdown, and once we get to nearly the end of the timer, we then call out to Spotify again, and we ask it to fade the volume of the music down to 40%. We then wait a couple more seconds. We disable that countdown timer, because at this point it's got to 0. That source fades out, and then it transitions to the main scene. you know, my big fat face saying hello Linux lovers. And then finally it re-enables the appropriate call to action animations which run on a timed loop, and occasionally you'll see like a little Twitch badge follow come up down the bottom of the screen and sort of rotate and fade out, and I've got one of those for YouTube, one of those for Twitch, and it just turns those on so those start rolling in. You'll see it at some point. So that's what happens when the stream starts. And again, there's a bunch of stuff, a lot of that stuff in the past I used to have to go in and, you know, run by hand or what have you, and forget to do sometimes. So all automated, all to time, reproducible, same thing every stream. And then similarly on the shutdown, we have a script to end the stream, and it works in much the same way. This is the one for work, but this is the one for this stream here. So this actually manages a sequence of transitions. So I'm using a transition table in OBS, so it knows when you move from one scene to another, it will automatically apply the transition that you've chosen. That's a really useful tool. So all this is doing is actually queuing up a timed set of transitions. So it moves to the outro, it sets up some, these black and whites are to manage fading in and fading out at the end of the scene. It disables those call to actions again, so those don't, because depending on the timing, those may get overlaid at some point. Fades the music audio out to nothing, brings up the outro screen, then just goes through a couple of transitions to play the outro video and fade the stream out, and somewhere in the middle of this, here we go, it stops the stream, stops recording, and then it resets these sources that handle the fades. And at the very end, it puts all of my audio routing back to the default configuration. So my music is now back playing out in the usual way it would do as on the desktop, as opposed to, you know, my rerouted, remixed audio. So those two scripts are very powerful. There's a ton of automation in there. And yeah, that's like, it's another massive time saver and predictable. Same thing every time. I just push a button and I know exactly the same outcome is going to get played out. So that's what goes on there. And then we've got here a couple of scripts. Here we've got animations, words, and hue lights. So these are the new ones. So animations, these are what are integrated with Aitum. So this is a script which will basically play out a sequence of animations, and some of them are really simple. Turn a source on, wait an amount of time, turn a source off. I've got something more fancy planned for this one. I haven't finished it yet. But here's the Chelsea Cucumber one. This is slightly more interesting. So this one, you know, sets the cucumbers visible, the animated cucumbers. It then calls out to my script to control the hue lights and tells it to run the Chelsea Cucumber lighting effect. And then through a sequence of waits and source changes, it animates in the circle of my now green face because the lighting has kicked in, and then it fades out the animated cucumbers, fades out my face. So that's the whole animation. And then what that looks like in terms of Aitum is this. Oh, I've moved it back over here, didn't I? So if I bring Aitum down here, how this all integrates then is we have, let's just tuck that away, we have a bunch of redemptions here. Here's Chelsea Cucumber, and the way this is being triggered is when somebody redeems Chelsea Cucumber on Twitch, is the trigger rule. Oops, all this does is call my OBS animation script with Chelsea Cucumber. Now, a few days ago, I had all of this turning on source visibility, waiting an amount of time. You can do all of that in Aitum, and I did have it all in Aitum. But then I realized at the moment there's one integration that we don't have between Aitum and Linux and StreamDeck, is that I can't bind StreamDeck keys with Aitum actions. So I've sort of gone the other way. I've moved all of my animations into a script, and now those scripts can sit behind my StreamDeck buttons, and Aitum can call the same scripts. So I haven't repeated myself. I have one version of the truth in terms of the things that run my scripts and what have you, and Aitum triggers those, and I can bind them to StreamDeck buttons. So, an example of my Windows alignment. So that noob was asking about my script for doing the Windows alignment. Yeah, I could do at some point. I could do a live stream just like looking at that particular tool. You know, if that's something that people are interested in. So Takov, let's have a look. What have we got here? Takov says, I was wondering, is it possible to see a somewhat of a skeleton of this code? So which code are you referring to, Takov? The answer is yes, but what code is it you want to look at? That's my animations file, and it is just a bunch of turning sources on and off in a sequence. And I was using, in the past, I was doing some of my scene automation using the advanced scene switcher plugin for OBS. But with Aitum and the scripts now, I've been able to stop using that, because there's far more flexibility in Aitum and running these scripts in this way, because I can manage discrete sources, not just scenes. And what that's meant is, because the only automation I had in the past was scene switching, I had hundreds and hundreds of scenes that were duplicating a lot of the same stuff, because that was the only way I could turn a source on and off in an automated way, was to transition to a whole other scene. So whilst I still have a lot of scenes, I think I've removed over 400 scenes from my OBS configuration. And that's because of Aitum and the fact that I can now be much more prescribed in how I do things. So Takov's saying he's interested in a bash script of what? Hey Henrik, how you doing? What's a scene or 400 between friends? Yeah, it took a long time to start and stop OBS, and that's one of the big things I've seen is the startup performance is considerably improved. So I then have another script which is the same thing but for the words, you know, that yeah and all the rest of it stuff that we've got. And that's far simpler because it always does the same thing. Triggers a source and waits the same amount of time and then turns it off again. And you'll notice if I just trigger one of those, let's go something similar. There we go. That's simple. There we go. Redeem that. You'll notice that all the lights are going off as well. I need to get used to that. You'll notice that like zooms in and it's got opacity and all the rest of it. And the way that that's handled is through show and hide source transitions, which was new in OBS 27. Which means for each source you can create a different transition for when that source is made visible or hidden. So that's how a lot of the animation in air quotes works in these effects. It's using OBS source transitions to change their appearance. And then this is what we cobbled together over the weekend. This is very raw, but this is a wrapper for Hue ADM, which is a Node application for managing Hue lights, and it is mega simple to work with and very flexible. So I just have a bunch of like parameters to pass to this. This is my default lighting. So if I call this script with default, I get this that we're looking at now. This is my default lighting here. And then similar to the animations of the source transitions, this has got a similar thing where it sets some colors up, it turns things on and off, it sets transitions time, it creates loops, and it does all of that. So the Chelsea cucumber visual animation calls this lighting animation, and the two are then in sync with one another. And again, because this exists in this script here, I can call them from Aitum, so I could have lighting effects that are just called from Aitum directly, and I can bind them to buttons on my StreamDeck. So there, this is just a list of all of the animations. You know, it's pretty straightforward. Hello, Seshumara, is that how we pronounce that? Welcome to the stream. Let's have a look. You asked a question. Isn't it easier to have the animation in CSS and JavaScript and run it in a browser source? So I do both. So I have some animations which are browser sources. There's a lot of browser sources in this view that you're looking at now. Your overlaid message is a browser source. The chat is a browser source. There's a whole bunch of browser sources. I use browser sources for all manner of alerts, and then I mix those with some locally composited stuff in OBS as well. So I used a blend of both, and Aitum is what enables me to sort of bring those together as one harmonious sort of solution. And if you're not, I keep saying Aitum. Let me put in chat what this is. It's aitum.tv. So this is available for Linux, Windows and Mac, and it's a tool to integrate Twitch with OBS and MIDI and Elgato lights, and I'm missing something else. It's fairly new, but it's, you know, it's being added to all the time. Right, okay, I'm getting private messages that I'll come back to later. That looks interesting. So I think there's my little call to action animation that I was referring to earlier that run on a timer. So that's kind of like the new arrangement, and then if I just go back to the main screen, when I there we go. Hello, Baron Camlost. Wow, indeed. So Dust's what? Hang on, let's have a look at this. Right. Dust says you're going to kick me because I would have saved you a crap ton of work. Sorry. Tell me how. What? How would you have saved a bunch of work? I'm interested to know, because it hasn't been a lot of work. It's yeah, I think that's what I've just seen over here. Okay, I'll take a look at that later. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'll look at that. Dust is the developer of Aitum. And he's just sending me some details behind the scenes. He's also one of the moderators here as well, so thank you very much for helping out with that. Yeah, so there's different APIs in Aitum, and they're not announced, I think is the correct term, and there's some poking around you can do in the background, but I'll take a look at that. It wasn't much work, to be honest with you. You know, you can just see it's just, you know, call a thing, do a thing. So yeah, but I'm very happy with the setup because I've been wanting to do something like this for the longest time and simply haven't been able to. So it's terrific that that's now a possibility for, you know, Linux streamers. There are very few things now we're missing out on. The main one that I really haven't got my head round as to how stable it is and where it's at is shader filters. I know there's some support, but it's not quite as good or complete. So I haven't done anything with shader filters. But other than that, we're in a pretty good spot now. Oh, I'm super happy. This is terrific, and I know it's early days with Aitum, but this is, like, you know, fantastic. So one other aspect of this stream used to be on a Sunday night, all us Linux nerds would get together and we would play games, and I want to start doing that again. One of the reasons we stopped doing that is the main game that we were playing. It's the network multiplayer has packed in, and it's not a Linux thing. It just doesn't work on anything. We've tried Windows and everything. That's how desperate we got. But I've revamped my multiplayer setup. So we'll just take a quick look at that. So when I'm doing games, you'll notice a transition here. So the screen went black. That's actually a blurred out version of the desktop behind this, where this window is, and that's because this is where I play the game, and it puts a blurred out image of the game underneath me. And if I would play a game on my own, I have two views, one that looks like this, and now you can see my OBS setup. So you can see here are my scenes. So I'll just go through those. This is how many I have now. And a lot of this big bunch in the middle here, from that point there to that point there, all of those are just to manage the 8 remote players, their cameras and their game screens. So this is how I have OBS lined up, and you can see here I've got my ruler at the top here. And if I drag this down, my ruler is set to exactly 1920 pixels wide. So you can see that perfectly overlays on my screen. So I have exactly a 1080p monitor in my OBS that I can work with now, which is fantastic, which is why I've got a slightly funky layout. And then this is featured chat that I use here to actually highlight messages, and on the other screen I've got the actual chat up as well. So this arrangement enables me to have a full screen, and then if I'm doing full screen gaming, I've got a view that looks like this. But then when I play with my friends, this is when we've got 2 people playing together. So this would be this is actually Video Ninja. This is that they would come through here, and then if we were playing a 2-player game, it would look like that. And you'll notice I've done something rather fun with the chat there. I've got the chat overflowing across 2 screens offset, and you'll also see that the cameras are automatically changing between portrait, square, and I don't think I've used any of the circled ones at the moment, but there's a whole bunch of different camera shapes, and that's all automatically composited and managed by OBS. And then if there's 3 of us, this is what the 3 of us with our talking heads would look like. And then if we're actually in game, this is the in-game arrangement. So you can see there'll be 3 of our cameras there and each of our gameplay windows, and we can within about 150 milliseconds of latency, all of our game footage is up on the stream at the same time. So when we're racing and we're like bumper to bumper, you can actually see live that that's the reflection of what's going on in the track. It's really cool. And then similarly, you know, if there's 4 of us playing, it looks like this. And that's the split screen for when 4 of us are playing at the same time. And similarly, for when we're you know, having a chat in between whiles. And then this does still work. This is the car picker. Let's just that's the wrong one. I want that one. And properties. So that I should add an Aitum rule for this to refresh that browser source automatically. That's what I'm going to do later, actually. I'm going to add that. So this is the car picker that we wrote for the game. So this enables us to randomize what car we're going to be racing in. We click that and it will tell us randomly pick the driver and the car, and that's it. We all then have to get in that car. Thank goodness we're not racing today because Mike's Athena is bobbins. And then we did also have some standings, but those web apps aren't functioning at the moment. So that's kind of the view of it all. And then the other thing I can do is when we're in the game view, so if I bring up the 4-player game view, I can live switch. So if my friend Popey joins, you'll notice now where Yannick's screen was, that switched to Popey, that switched to his camera, his game screen. And I can do the same down here for it, where Monica is. I can switch that over to Marius. So I can live switch all of this, and what I haven't finished working on, which is in the works, is that live camera switching will actually be a capability of the viewers, so you can choose what camera views to go with. Right, and I think there was a question here, so let's bring up this. So, Seshumara, I apologise if I'm not getting that right. I'm on Linux too. Welcome, you're in the right place, you're among friends. Barely started streaming. So far I got curl sh script to get the followers and a Node.js for a chatbot with 2 commands so far. My setup, well, thank you very much. I could have done I could have done. I did consider writing bots myself. I've been thinking about it for months, but I didn't want to get into all of that. And there were tools that were available for Windows and Mac OS that meant that you didn't have to get into writing a load of code. And then Dust dropped in my stream maybe a couple of months ago and told me about Aitum, and that means that, you know, I don't need to do much of that stuff now. It doesn't have all of the chat bot integrations yet, but I know it's planned and it's coming. So yeah, but you know, if you stream on Linux, then you know, consider joining our Discord. We're a friendly bunch. There's a whole group of us that are you know, Linux enthusiasts and streamers. So if you join our Discord, we've got a channel there just for talking about what we call broadcasting, which is like podcasting, streaming and video stuff. So, you know, we'd be happy to have you among us. So Dust says it's maybe time for us to reverse engineer their game server. Don't think we haven't considered it, and in fact there was one stream where Henrik was actually poking around memory in the game and was actually starting to extract some of the game parameters. So we went pretty deep on all of that. yeah, we're quite friendly with the devs, but I don't know if it's them or the platform, but you know, something's busted and it's deeply disappointing. But I have been looking at some other racing games, and now this setup is working just about. There's still stuff I want to get going, but now it's all sorted. I think that maybe we'll see a return of Sunday night game night, multiplayer mayhem. Just need to find either Hotshot Racing needs to work, or we'll find something similar to have a play with. So I think that's everything I had that I was going to go through. I think that kind of explains the new setup and why I've made the decisions I have about why it's set up the way it is, why windows and cameras are composited the sizes that they are, and it's really to just make it easy for me to do this, as in I want to stream more often, and oh goodness, I've got to set up all of those windows and everything is just such a chore. So the fact that all of that's gone away now is, a huge improvement. Well, I didn't finish my tea. I'll have some now. So if anyone has got any additional questions on any of that, feel free to join our Discord. I put the link in the chat earlier, I hope. Yeah. And I can answer any questions there. I'm not planning on publishing these scripts on GitHub or anything. They're in a Git repository as part of my configuration management. But I have in the past, when people have asked how I did a thing, I have shared full snippets, so I'll be more than happy to provide a working example of what I've got. But these are very specific configurations to my setup. I don't want people just to have an analog of my configuration. That's not very imaginative, but I will share the technical details of how I've done things so people can recreate same or similar effects. The thing I'm going to struggle with is how am I going to do the lighting effects in the lodge? I have no idea how I'm going to overcome that one. That's more of a networking difficulty over there because of the isolated network, so I'm going to have a think about that. So now I've got this far, I think the next things are a return to Retro Home to work on that. That's my new OS for the Raspberry Pi for retro gaming. So that's a highly optimized alternative to RetroPie, and that's coming along very nicely. And that's why I have the reproduction cases down here. And what I also need to do is behind me, I've got a whole bunch of a work desk there. I need to tidy up behind me and get that desk going again, because that's got overhead cameras and a workbench, and I used to do hardware building and stuff like that, hardware hacking, and I want to get that up and going again because I've got some interesting devices I want to build. So so I want to have a sort out and get all that going and get all of the NDI cameras. So I made my own 3-camera NDI encoder earlier in the year as a hacking challenge. That's running on a really ancient i5 NUC that I put in a passively cooled case. So that's an automatic turn it on, 3 cameras just appear on your network NDI encoder. It's brilliant. So I want to bring that back into play and get that integrated into all of this so I can do that multi-camera setup and multi-microphone setup as well, because I had the whole wireless mics going. So that noob asks, what was the name of that Raspberry Pi distro? You didn't catch it. Okay, well let's go here and I will show you. It's not fully available at the moment. It will be very soon. I am hang on a minute. There we go. This is what we want. So on my GitHub, which is github.com/wimpysworld, there is a project here called Retro Home. And This is a little bit different in at the moment it has a script here, and this script builds a Raspberry Pi operating system image, which you can put on a Raspberry Pi, and it is a games console for retro systems. It's something I started last year, and the project I'm basing it off, Ludo, wasn't quite ready for prime time back then, but it is way better now and definitely useful. So I've reignited this recently. These are the platforms that it supports, or I'm working on supporting, and the performance is there. I did a stream a couple of weeks ago where I tested it with thousands of games, and it's shaping up really nicely. So I think before Christmas I will have at least an image available for download as an alpha that will work on a Raspberry Pi. But what I've been doing is working on, I don't know, well, this one here. I've been working on, so this case here is from Retroflag, and in fact I can do this at home. There we go. This case here is from Retroflag, and it's a reproduction Mega Drive case. And you'll see on the front here it's got an on-off switch, and it's got a reset switch. So it's got safe shutdown capability, and all of the Retroflag cases have this. And this requires drivers and what have you, which for reasons don't work on modern Linux kernels. So I've been rewriting the drivers for this stuff in a way that's compatible with modern Linux. And this script will build images for these different types of cases, and I'm working on some handhelds as well. So the idea is that you'll be able to download an image specific to the case you want to run that on. So the first image will be, you can just put it on a Raspberry Pi, but then there'll be a bunch of images that are sort of for these, not just these cases, but handhelds and some other interesting Pi devices that are good for retro gaming. So that's, there we go. Let's just arrange that. There we go. So that's something I'm working on, and I'm going to be returning to in the next day or so. But because Aitum got to where it got to, and it had a bunch of features in it that, well, I'd asked for, I really wanted to level up my OBS setup so that I could well, basically get it to where I've wanted it to be for a really long time now, and I'm mega happy with this. It's a breeze to use. I mean, just looking around, I mean, what you can't see is on this monitor next to me. Can't see it. We could try this again, couldn't we? On the monitor next to me, it arranges a bunch of windows automatically, which means it's really easy for me to stay up to date with what's going on the stream and do different things. So if I do that, there we go. If we do that and we switch over here to the phone view, so this is the other screen. So I've got two monitors. That's the one I'm streaming from. This is like the control screen, and you can see one of the things I've done is to make sure that OBS has the maximum size available for me to see the preview window. It automatically places the stats for OBS down there on this other screen. So, oh, that was weird. Did we just go offline? Wow, that was odd. So the camera went off and the music stopped and the screen went black all at the same time there for me. And that felt like I'd just fallen off the internet, but thankfully, no. So that was fun. Good. Hey Phil, how you doing? Thank goodness. Disturbance in the force indeed. So yeah, that's the new setup. It's going to be easier for me to live code. It's going to be easier for me to play games. And when I sort this mess out behind me, it will be easier for me to get back to hardware projects here as well. Because of the changing guidance in the UK regarding COVID, we're in kind of a semi-lockdown. So going to the lodge isn't an option for me at the moment. So I need to make this space, which has turned into an absolute, I mean, you just would not believe. This is it's not particularly clean, but this is the cone of clean. If you could see the colossal mess, just I'm touching it now. It's just, it needs a big sorting out. So I'll get to that, and then I can do some hardware builds over there as well. Yeah, I think Dust, you may be right. So Dust is suggesting that it might be a full lockdown before Christmas. Yeah, we've already made plans to see some family members before Christmas, and then they got sick, so that didn't happen. So we may not see them at all now. RW Grimm says, I lost my mic tonight. Oh, USB device just disappeared. Oh, when you were streaming, did that happen? Nightmare. I don't know if you saw the last Ubuntu podcast stream, but that's what was happening to Popey. We didn't realise it at the time, but he'd got a USB device that was just wobbling, and his audio kept just going out. But it was days later we figured out what that problem was. So, broken. Where is my lodge? So, I don't know, about 10 minutes from here there's a co-working space, and I rent a small office there, which is my place of work. It's where I go to work most days, but it's also like a second place for me to work on projects and build stuff. So it's just 10 minute drive from here in a co-working space. Oh dear. Oh, it's the cat bumped the microphone. Oh, nice one. Hey Diddle Dan, how you doing? Are you alright? You've missed all the fun. If you've got any channel points, you might want to redeem some of them, because I've been playing around, upped my game on the visual effects front. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover. What have we got here? So hey Situk, I hope that's right. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Are your scripts available for inspiration somewhere in a Git repo? So I was saying earlier, no, they're not. And I don't want to put them up. I tell you what, I don't want to put them up as they are, because they are basically my configuration. And I think it would be a bit... I don't think it's very imaginative for people just to take them and just reproduce exactly what I have. But what I can do is I could put up versions of them which are like trimmed back to sort of demonstrate this is the script for starting the stream, stopping the stream. I think this is one for configuring your stream. This is an example of launching your applications and resizing all the windows and everything. So I could do that. I think I will do that. I think I'll put up like examples of those basic bits and pieces. But of course, the scripts on their own are only half the story, because it's the integrations with Aitum that actually make those scripts most powerful, because it then means they respond to Twitch interactions, which is where the real magic happens, in my opinion. Congratulations, Danny. I'm glad to hear that your pursuit for a healthier lifestyle is going well for you. So let's have a look. RW Grimm says, you mentioned what you were using for a bot earlier, but I didn't catch it. I will show you. So I am using Aitum.tv. This is what I'm using. This browser is not logged in as me as it happens. So it's currently in beta and it costs £4 a month, and it looks like this. This is Aitum. It runs on Windows, Linux and Mac, and if you are streaming using Linux, it is the only game in town. So these are my so here we got my Twitch integrations. So here I can manage the redemptions, so what they're called, colors, cost and what have you. I can group them, so you can turn off groups of things together, and you can even automate that within Aitum itself. And then here, if we look here, there's a rule here called Love It, and the redemption is from Twitch, a redemption. The redemption is the Love It redemption, and what does it do? Danny is now I think this is Danny. Danny has found the Chelsea cucumber. So there it is. There is one of the channel point redemptions. That was Aitum kicking that off through a channel point redemption. So that was perfectly timed. There we go. So yeah, that's like the simplest way of how they work. But if I just go down here and create a new add a rule down the bottom here, you can see that there are a number of ways you can trigger this through MIDI or OBS or Twitch. So you can have it like on a scene change, stream stopping or starting, or visibility changes. So there's a number of ways that rules can be triggered. There's a state system, which I've not used yet. And then a bunch of actions that you can trigger, and that can be internal Aitum things, which is call a web page, trigger an existing rule, or shell out to something. That's what I'm using a lot, because I can create, you know, quite complex macros and have Aitum call those. All of my scripted animations I did have in Aitum up until a few days ago, and I've separated things up so that I can bind them to the StreamDeck as well. So in addition to this, you can also trigger MIDI stuff. It'll control your Elgato key lights if you have them, and it can also, you know, manipulate stuff on Twitch as well. So you can even change the prices of things. So I saw somebody do a stream where, was it hype? I think they had a hype train or something, and when that happened, it dropped the price on all of their channel point redemptions, and they had 5 minutes of madness where people could just spam the stream with loads of memes, which was kind of amusing. So there we go. That's you know, that's a very brief overview of Aitum. This is the website, and you will find tutorials there which explain how to use it all. Hopefully that's answering to your question. I'm using PhantomBot and it works, but it does leave a lot to be desired. I've not heard of PhantomBot. So yeah, so Dust is here in chat, and he's is it fair to say you're the lead developer? You're certainly one of the founders of Aitum, CTO. Nice one. So yeah, so Dust is here, and he made the excellent decision to make Aitum cross-platform. And I know that there's at least 5 Linux users running Aitum, because I asked in the Aitum Discord the other day. So yeah, I mean, we've all been, us Linux lot have been waiting for something like this for a long time, so thank you. So I'm just looking through the chat here. So RW Grim, you're 100% Linux. So yes, so everything I do here is always is Linux related. The only time I do Windows and Mac OS is when I'm making Linux run Windows and Mac OS. So I think when you become CTO, you stop writing code. I think we both know a CTO that doesn't apply to, Luke. So, you know, there is that. Let's have a look here. What have we got? Did everyone see Nate Graham's blog post on what Linux needs to go mainstream? I didn't. Can you post a link to that, Paul? That sounds like something that people would be interested in. I'll be interested in reading it because, you know, that was my job for a while. It's not as easy as people think, and certainly a lot of what people think needs to be done is it's a lot more nuanced than what a lot of people assume, because dealing with OEMs and vendors is hard. It's tough. So Luke says, yeah, when you become CTO, you should stop writing code. Don't stop writing code, Dust, please. Ignore Luke. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, when you've got a team behind you. Right then. So, thank you for the questions. So maybe one of the streams I'll do, I'll take like my existing scripts and create, I think Takov referred to it as like a skeleton version. So like a cutback version, which has got like the useful bits in it. And I'll drop some hints in there about where those integration points with Aitum could be. I mean, you don't even need to use my scripts, to be fair. I think, with the exception of the audio ducking and fading and what have you, which I did have to write scripts for, and I will happily publish. I have published those. I've linked them in the Discord many times, but I'll put them on GitHub somewhere. With the exception of that audio stuff, I think everything I've scripted can be implemented in Aitum, because I did have it all in Aitum up until a couple of days ago. With the exception of the Hue Light stuff, which I'm using an external utility for, and that's because Hue Light support is on the Aitum roadmap. It isn't. You saw the Elgato lights were in Aitum, but the Hue Lights is coming soon, TM. Luke goes on to say that basically Nate Graham's blog post about how to get Linux mainstream boils down to basically it's getting it onto mainstream hardware. Yes, that's exactly right. I agree unreservedly.
Thank you for the follow, GACBL.
Thanks very much for the follow and welcome to the stream. How are we doing there? 794. Was that what that said? Turns out though that's harder than it sounds. The work we did with Lenovo and Dell and Hewlett Packard, it is hard work, and it comes down to increasingly power. It's the power rating standards. I forget the names of them, but the OEMs, the big tier 1 OEMs, are not allowed to ship devices that don't meet the various power certifications. Power consumption certifications. There are certain limits that everything has to meet, and the problem with that is that there are approximately 20 or so power hooks that exist in, say for example, Intel's CPUs to not just monitor and moderate how the CPU works, but the chipset and other devices. Now, for reasons, only 2 of those are exposed in the Linux kernel, because Intel, for example, don't want to give AMD and Nvidia insight as to how they're doing power management on their hardware. So it is astonishingly difficult to actually get Linux onto devices and hit those power certifications in the limits, and we used to go through several loops of, you know, actually having to, you know, dig into kernel support, and changes and reverse engineering stuff in order to do that, which is why it's challenging and why the smaller OEMs kind of fly under the radar and they don't have to adhere to that stuff, but the big tier ones do, and that's the hardest thing. That's by far the hardest thing to do, the power profiling stuff. So I'm just looking down the chat. So the heart at the bottom of the screen says 794. It's actually 795, so that doesn't update in real time. The little heart down here, that is the number of followers, but that is in slow time. I'm looking at the Twitch metric up here. It says 795, so 5 more follows would be delightful. And Linux Paul, you're quite right. Nothing is worth doing if it's easy. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the follow, Bleachin74.
Thanks, Bleachin. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for that. I hope the all this animation and razzmatazz makes it worthwhile. I like the call to action. Yeah, very good. So Danny says, maybe you should, what's this? Let me bring this up. This is actually quite handy because it makes it easier for me to read apart from anything else. Maybe you should script Aitum to trigger that laggy follow account to force it. Well, I think so. Dust, who is the developer of Aitum, he was saying earlier that the let's say, well, let's just say it, the crappy tools I'm using to get access to these numbers, it looks like Aitum's gonna have something far better in the new year. I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for that. So yeah, that's I think we'll get something better soon. This will suffice for now. It's not called SpeedStep anymore. It's things like RAPL, but yeah, it's that stuff on the CPU and the power management side of things. What was this? Okay, we've got a first. Hey, GACBL. I'm not sure why that didn't come through into my chat. Here we go. It's over here. Let's bring this up. It's a big message. So they say, glad to see more Linux streamers. Was a Linux user for years. I hear that a lot. Oh, I love Linux. I used it years ago. I hear that all the time. When I used to go around speaking, it was sort of bite my tongue. Like, it's no good that you were a Linux user years ago. It's lovely that you were once, but you know, it'd be good if you still were. But then you switch back to Windows. I'm gonna guess that might be for gaming, but okay. Kept crashing. Okay, fair enough. Well, use the tools that work for you. That's certainly something to do. So Dust says we kept more stuff off the roadmap for a reason. Okay, good. So there's some more bits coming. That's lovely to hear. And Sesumara says, but I thought Linux is more streamlined than Windows, or don't I understand what you meant? That's not, well, so yes, it is true that if you take a Linux distribution, you can install it and have it take up less disk space, less CPU resources, and less RAM than Windows. But they're not so different these days, really. That was more valuable, 10 years ago maybe. But these days, they're not so far removed. I wouldn't say, if that's your motivation, it's not a good enough value proposition to sort of make that change for those reasons. I think people should be switching to Linux or using Linux because it suits them better, that they can do things on Linux that they need to do or can't do as easily elsewhere. For me, I've been using Linux for such a long time. I feel uncomfortable and unproductive on everything else. So, you know, I am here because I've been using Linux for, I think, well, God, how long is it? It's a long time. Nearly 30 years, 28 years or so. So, well, I'm just going to go through some of these. We've got some questions coming in. So, Gakball says, been using Linux for about 7 years without problems, but last year it was just a bit crazy. You prefer Linux, probably back to its own. Was it crazy because of, you know, the crazy world that we're living in right now and the demands on your computing were different? So, okay, so you're going to be busy coming up then, Yannick, it sounds like. So, Gakball says, I guess having NVIDIA in my setup for the first time was expected to bring some problems. Interesting you should say that, because I only use NVIDIA. Here we go. Oh, I'm in the wrong. Let's switch over here. Drag this down. Here we go. This machine is all using NVIDIA and every hardware capability that I can enable, even by hacking the drivers to unlock features that you shouldn't have access to. So I use NVIDIA on this machine and the one at the lodge, although not that you can see it very well. But this here, that's an RX 6900 XT that I'm building on a system there that I want to put through its paces. So, yeah, I agree. So, Ardsa says that, in fact, I can show you what they say. They say that it's not as much of a problem. I agree. I think the Linux Tech Tips sort of Linux challenge was revealing in that they are familiar with what the Windows drivers on NVIDIA exposed to them and the quality of the user interface for manipulating those drivers and all the rest of it. And they felt that the Linux implementation was severely lacking in that regard. I can believe that. But I don't feel I'm missing. I know that there are features I don't have. I know there's a bunch of value add on Windows with NVIDIA. You know, there's RTX Broadcast, for example, which for somebody like me who's into streaming, that would be interesting. But, you know, I'm using audio noise suppression and what have you in OBS right now using RN noise, and it works remarkably well. I don't know if it'd be significantly better with RTX Broadcast. And if I was going to green screen, I'd actually pull the green screen down and actually chroma key myself out. I've never been sold on this AI chroma keying. It's good and getting better, and maybe one day it will be great, but it's not convincing, in my opinion. But I'm very happy with NVIDIA, and certainly the quality of NVENC and using something like StreamFX in OBS unlocks the full potential of NVENC, and then the version of OBS that I maintain, you know, it's got NVENC, it's got VA API, and it's also got NV FBC, so it's got the frame buffer copy stuff, so zero copy. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with NVIDIA on Linux these days, which is highly desirable. Works well. Bleaching 74. Let me just find that. There we go. So Bleaching 74 says, I'm in the same boat as Gakball. This year I've switched to Windows from Linux on my personal devices because it just works. Yeah. I mean, you need to use what works for you. It's no good. It's no good fighting with your system unnecessarily. Yeah. So I've got another project that we work on here, our community works on, called QuickEmu. and that enables you to run highly optimized Windows and Mac OS virtual machines on Linux with a whole bunch of hardware acceleration and pass-through. And I do have Windows installed on this machine purely for the purposes to dual boot to do firmware updates on devices that you can only update the firmware when you're running Windows. But I've been using virtual machines of Windows with pass-through enabled recently via QuickEmu to do those firmware updates. So I think at some point I'll do away with a physical install of Windows, and I'm going to just continue to push what I do with QuickEmu. Ooh, what's this? Thank you for popping these up. I really appreciate this, mods. Thank you. So Danny says, I think the big issue with getting more people into Linux is that developers that build the desktop are used to the foibles and are blinkered. Yeah, I think you're dead right. And I would put myself in that boat, which is why I found the LTT challenge so interesting as a concept and also what they had to say. Because I don't see the rough edges, and I know they're there, you know, in front of me. I know that there are rough edges. I maintain my own desktop Linux distribution. You know, I've been doing that for 7 years. I know it's imperfect, but it works well enough for me, and I don't care that it's, you know, a little bit janky in places. Yes, and I think that's correct. I was a little bit frustrated with some of the feedback that LTT got, which was you're holding it wrong. That people should not have been responding in that way. It was a golden opportunity to have some insight and eyes on desktop Linux from experienced, you know, technically proficient users, and I think dismissing their input, their critique, was extremely short-sighted, and also exclusively it was dismissed. I think that there was one example where that wasn't the case, but exclusively it was the peanut gallery that were dismissive, but every developer that I know took the criticism as like, well, that's useful and helpful, you know, outside eyes looking in on our world, we should do stuff to improve. And we've seen it trigger a number of improvements, you know, in different projects as a result, and that's great. So RW Grimm says, wait, you have a packaged version of OBS somewhere? Yes, I do. I maintain the snap of OBS, which is OBS plus every useful plugin and accelerated capability turned up to 11. Thank you, Danny, for sharing the link. So Danny's just shared the link to that. So that's the snap of OBS Studio, but it's OBS Studio plus all the things, and that makes it and that's what I'm using right now. So that's got NVENC in there, and you really don't want to use the snap. Well, then you're missing out. I am working on a non-snapped version of OBS that has all of the same benefits, but is not a snap. That'll be that's on the back burner at the moment, but something I'll pick up in the new year a bit more aggressively. And what's this? So Baron Cam lost. Am I saying that right? So they say I like Linus's videos, rather, even if they do disclose the flaws in the desktop. Yeah, and you know, they made some mistakes of their own. There was some of that coverage that was just, you know, wrong in places, but that's fine too. But that doesn't mean that because they were inaccurate about some things that the whole thing was wrong. Overall, I think that it was a pretty fair and honest and accurate critique on the current state of desktop Linux. But you know, it was just frustrating that more people didn't see the value in it. Snaps are pretty controversial. Are they? Why? So for those of you that don't know me, I led the Snapcraft team at Canonical for about 5 years. And Danny's got a question here about snaps. Let's have a look. Let's bring that one up. So Danny says, speaking of snaps, and Danny is a Snapcraft contributor. We need a packaging script that takes a Snapcraft YAML, but instead of spitting out a snap, it spits out a distro-specific package, deb.rpm. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I've been building a version. Well, I've been building OBS in much the same way I build the snap, but not in a snap. What I'm thinking is making a fat deb out of it, but basically taking all of the process that I've learned to sort of make something that's not a snap, but is batteries included OBS. And the main reason for that is there are things that I want to do with OBS that the confinement model of the snap is never going to allow me to do. So for me to actually go to the next level, I think I need to move away from the snap. And I've also been talking about, through my day job, actually making a Docker image of OBS, batteries included, because I think that could work too. So, but there's no hurry to suddenly, run away from the snap of OBS. I've put, I don't know, about a year and a half's worth of effort into that, and it's in a good place. It supports everything and more. But I'd like to see what else I can do with OBS. Yeah, OBS so my day job, I work for Slim.ai, and we specialize in container optimization. And we do live streams here over on the Slim DevOps channel. You might want to get followed there. It's a bit like this. It's a lot like this, but more of a container emphasis. But it's sort of casual chat, some Linux stuff. We do some Linux challenges over there. We did one, let's make a container from scratch with Ubuntu just recently. Stuff like that. And we also looked at, Fedora Silverblue and Flatpak as the future of the Linux desktop in terms of, immutable systems and developer workflow. So we do fun stuff over there. So if you're not followed over at Slim DevOps, get followed over there. We do some good stuff over there.
Thank you for the follow, Athura.
Thanks very much for the follow, Athura. Welcome to the stream. So that's something I'm going to look at as a challenge, putting Docker in OBS and Docker container, because why not? How hard could it be? And Takov says, side note, that Luke over at the challenge said that he will highly likely go Linux Mint his work laptop. Yeah, and that was mostly because of the productivity angle, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, because he was saying that the apps that he uses day to day were all available on Linux, and that's here we are, and it is 2021, but look, I've got Google Chrome streaming to Twitch with OBS, full hardware capabilities. There is none of the using Discord on the back end. I've got Spotify playing the music. I'm just looking down my list. Aitum, which does all of that automation for us. There is so much now that we have that we're not missing out on, including, it may not be as complete as the Windows offering, but I have a very functional StreamDeck using StreamDeck Unix, he says, because I'm on the wrong screen. Let's just bring that up. There we go. So here's my StreamDeck configuration. I really want for nothing. There's an awful lot that is just works now. It's a golden time for Linux, I think. So Gakbal says, how would you expose the OBS UI through a Docker container? Well, it's interesting you asked, because we did that very thing on the Slim DevOps live stream a couple of weeks ago. We actually said, let's put a graphical app in a Docker container, and we did Firefox as an example to demonstrate the basics of how you do that, and then we'll take that principle and we'll scale it up. So for example, the snap of OBS is running in a container. It's using the same container primitives that Docker uses, for example. But we had to add some stuff to it in order to expose the host capabilities for accessing the GPU and doing GPU acceleration and what have you. So, you know, one of the things I worked on when I was at Canonical was adding, you know, GPU pass-through capability to snaps for things like CUDA, which make, you know, all of this possible. And I know similar mechanisms exist for Docker, so it should all be possible. It'll be another journey though, I'm certain, but it'll be good fun, and I'll do much of that here and on the Slim DevOps live stream. So Susamara says, is there a way to auto display in OBS an image or scene, say after I got a match in a game? Game has no integration. I'm not quite sure what you're asking there, but I think the answer to the question is yes. We did something similar here. We used to play a game called Hot Shot Racing, which is a multiplayer arcade racer. And Yannick, who's in the stream here, and also our friend Eric, who's in the US, they both wrote some code that grabbed screenshots of the did image recognition. No, actually, I think you hit the button right. Pushed a button on your Stream Deck, it grabbed a screenshot, it then used machine vision to pass that screenshot and then feed data into another application that we'd written, and we were using that to track our racing league, so we didn't have to type it all in by hand. Just pushed a button, grabbed a screenshot, fed the data into a web app, and we displayed the web app in the game. So I think if that's what you're asking about, it's all possible, yes. Jesse Frizzell did a load of GUI-based apps in containers. I'm not familiar with them. If you're able, can you post a link to wherever that is? Is that live streaming stuff or YouTube? I'd be interested to know more. But yes, it's all doable. And there we go. So Yannick says that the workflow was they pressed F12 to get the screenshot, and then that passed the screenshot into an OCR app to get the results, and then that was sent to a MySQL database, and then consequently a web app was used. And that then I had, in fact I still have the scenes here. I was showing this earlier. In fact, if I push this button here, this is one of our apps we developed for the game, which is our car picker, which I was looking at earlier. And in fact, I've still got Yannick's leaderboard apps, but they're not functional. They're blank pages at the moment. But yeah, we had all of this, you know, integrated stuff in the game. It was good fun. It made it. I mean, I think this is what happens when you get a bunch of software developers and Linux nerds and data scientists in a room playing a game together. It's suddenly not enough to be playing the game alone. You have to develop a load of software around it. And, you know, one of the things that we developed was the ability to do all of this. So if I go to this view here, this is our multi-party view. So we would have 8 people in a stream together. We could have 4 of us with all of our cameras displayed and our game playing, and it was 150 seconds of latency, 150 milliseconds of latency, and we would do multi-party gaming, and we had, you know, several different views on how all of that worked.
Thank you for the follow, IOTCL.
Thanks, Ioctal. Thanks. Welcome to the stream. So that's something I'm hoping to get back to, for sure. So, image recognition is hard. Well, so image recognition is not that difficult because there's a lot of utilities and tools out there to do that for you now. So, yeah, it's not as hard as you'd think. I think you'll be fine. So, let's have a look at this. So, Eighth Tool says, I think there are some client applications to remote control OBS. There are, and I'm using 2 of them to do all of this that you're seeing right now. So I was going through this earlier. I've just refreshed like my OBS setup and taken the automation up a considerable level. And if I just go back here, every time I push a button on the Stream Deck, it is using one of those tools to flip over the screen. So if we just bring up Visual Studio Code, let's pick one of these. Let's do the start stream. This is probably a good one. So you'll see here I'm using OBS CLI JS, which is a Node app, to set sources visible and invisible, and I'm then using a different Go implementation which also talks to OBS over WebSockets to change scenes and do things like starting the stream, starting the recording. So I have these scripts that sit behind buttons on my Stream Deck, and they completely automate the whole bring up and configuration and orchestration of my live streams. So I've got it down to 3 button presses on the Stream Deck to go from a freshly booted machine to all of the apps open, resized, all on the right virtual workspaces and desktops, and the stream up and running, and it's 100% reproducible. So that's something I've been working towards, and I'm there. I've still got things I want to add to the stream now, but the basics of it all are in place. I say the basics, it's not so basic, but it's all there. Yeah, so Yannick was using Tesseract for the OCR stuff. And Ioctal says the Stream Deck works on Linux. Yes, it does. So here's the Stream Deck here. This is a Stream Deck XL. I do also have the Mini and the OG Stream Deck. They all work. And if we go here, the tool I'm using to configure this is Stream Deck Unix. This is just the configuration UI. So this is how you configure the Stream Deck. So if we take let's take one of the more complicated buttons, let's just take this one. So the key press configuration basically runs a script, which is my offset the camera script when I push that button. So it runs that script and then it switches to page 2, which is this view of things here. And then each of these buttons, here I'm using OBS CLI to change the current scene to a scene called Play One Cam. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. I've got a button here that takes a screenshot. I've got a button here which does a backup of OBS and Aitum and Stream Deck Unix. So this is what I'm using for my Stream Deck now. I mean, I've even got, if I go over here, I've got a Spotify jukebox. So each of these buttons opens a different playlist, and then I've got all the media controls here. And then on this, I've then got a mixer, so I can then do ducking of all the audio sources that I'm using. So pretty comprehensive. So Yannick asks, I have a plugin in the making that talks to OBS directly without using the CLI. Yes, so Yannick is working on a plugin for Stream Deck Unix, which actually talks to the OBS WebSocket directly. And I imagine, I've not seen it, but I imagine it presents a simple UI here of drop downs to say what requests you want to issue to OBS through the UI. But yeah, this is what I use, and there's another thing written in Python which I've been using for about 18 months, but this one is way better, way better. Hopefully, there we go. Works. It does work. It works well. You don't get all of that drag and drop, integration like through the Stream Deck App Store type experience, but you do get, You do get a lot of buttons and they're programmable, so it's really down to your imagination what you can do with them. It's pretty good. I found a fantastic looking project yesterday that I must take. It's called StreamDeck FS, and it's basically a directory hierarchy to configure your StreamDeck, and it looks mega powerful. So I might take a look at that at some point. Athel asks, are those monitor speakers that you're using to prop up? It's not propping them up, but they are. If I just go to the overhead view, you're referring to these here, these speakers. So no, they are not holding it up. There are actually legs out of shot here that hold the glass shelf up, and these just conveniently slide perfectly underneath the glass shelf. And it means I've still got space to, clear this area if I want to work on a hardware build. By pushing keyboards and things under there, but also this is, it turns out, really fantastic spacing for stereo imaging, so it sounds terrific. They're quite old now, but I really like them. Right then. Yes, a little bit deceptive indeed. Yeah, they're nice. I mean, I use these an awful lot now. These in-ears, I love them. I've got a rather idiosyncratic audio setup, I think, because I don't like headphones, or I like one set of headphones, but purely for traveling. For this sort of thing, I hate being tethered, so I want wireless. So I've got this rather exotic arrangement with aptX low latency Bluetooth transmitters hooked up to the audio interface. You can't see all of this because it's round the back, but my audio interface is here. This is a solid state logic audio interface, and round the back is an aptX low latency Bluetooth transmitter, so that is connected here, and then these aptX low latency earbuds, which means I can do zero latency monitoring in ear wirelessly. So I'm doing this in ear wireless feedback because I still podcast from time to time. I used to have a podcast with some friends, so having that kind of capability was important to me. So for a couple of years I've been using this kind of system so I can be wireless. Oh, my camera's lost me. Hello, there we go. Yeah, might be time to get some new monitors here. Put these ones on the thing behind me because that monitor's busted, and get something new here. Because I've got this ultra wide in the lodge and I really love it. I could imagine I don't think there's anything more ultra wide than an ultra wide, but if there is, I think I want one. I really like the ultra wide monitor I've got in the other office. What speakers are they? I don't think you can get them anymore. So these are Creative Labs something or others, T30s, I think. So I don't know what they are, but they're Creative Labs, and if you go to the Creative Labs website, there is a modern version of these. They're a little bit bigger. I don't know how good they are, but these were fairly modestly priced, but they sound fantastic. I love them. And then we've got a question here. Dust is asking, are we talking 49-inch? Well, what I currently have in front of me is two 27-inch monitors. So, yes, at least that, maybe more. I want something, because this is literally at my arm's width, these two monitors side by side. So I'm thinking I could really go out here. I've got like another foot of space here, so I think I could get something significant in here. And what I'm actually thinking is two stacked on top of one another, because you can never have enough. There's never enough light screen space ever. So that's what I'm thinking, but that's some months away. I need to plan that. I need to tear down this room and sort it out before I tackle something like that. Right. I have, so what's this Linux Pool's saying here? You've got Linux Pool has two 34-inch ultra-wide stacked. Linux isn't great. Okay, two 34-inch ultra-wide stacked. So what's the issue? What are the issues you're running into, or the limitations you're running into there? Why is my camera messing me around? Come on. There I am. I'm there. Focus on me there. There we go. Right then. So the other thing I've got, which is kind of fun. Not sure if I can get, no, it's all plugged in at the moment. I can't get it. But I've got a little HDMI USB-C monitor, which is amazing. And I have been thinking about rigging up like more of those. Like I thought I think I've got 3 more DVI outputs, and I was thinking I could like arrange 3 across the top here. So then I could move like the Twitch dashboard, Stream Manager up there. I could move the chat thing there and have something else, you know, and just sort of make a bunch of extra space. So Dust says, I think what you want is basically what he has. Yes, send links, please do. Drop it into our Discord, you know, because it'll spark an interesting. Oh, here we go. So we've got that hasn't turned up in my featured chat yet, but when it does, I'll move that over. I have to say, I am loving featured chat. This is terrific. Oh, it's decided to not give me that one as an option. Bother. Is that because it's a link? So featured chat is decided to hide that, but you can see it in chat, and I will open it here. Oh yes, Dust, that is exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, you're dead right, that is exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah, so that link is exactly the kind of thing that I'm thinking of. Right then, well, thank you all for stopping by today. This has been an unexpected chat and a pleasant conversation. It's lovely to see so many new people here. How close did we get? 798. Oh man, is there a couple of people who aren't following it that feel like doing it? Come on, can we make 800? Ooh, thank you. Oh, that is, well.
Thank you for the follow, Roll on It.
Roll on it. You have done it. You are the 800th follower. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate the. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for the follow, Benjkamenge.
That was a target I was hoping we'd get to for Christmas. So thank you very much. That's terrific. Ah, you're all at it now. Nice one. Thank
you for the follow, Hikari Knight.
You're all too kind. I like that you're having fun with the I don't, even this one has lights. Even that one that overlays there puts some red lights on. It was quite funny because as the stream was coming up, Takov ran that one, and in here it's flashing red lights, but you don't see it so much. But I added the colouring, the lighting effects all the same. Okay. And this is the hey, happy Christmas. Thank you very much. Everyone's going ham. Yeah, who kicked that one off? Let's just go back. Take off. There we go. And this one, I don't know if the lights are going to cope with. No, the lights haven't adapted. This one does have a color profile, but it didn't apply that because there were so many going off. In fact, Dust, I need to speak to you about how you can like queue the redemption so they don't just all like go at once. I don't know if that's possible, but if I'll have a chat with you in the Aitum Discord about that. Oh, it's coming. Okay, good. So I'm not being an idiot. It's something new. And Hikari Knight, thank you very much for following, welcome. You're in the right place if you like a bit of Linux. We're a friendly bunch here. Everything we do here is live coding on Linux, Linux desktop development, Raspberry Pi, retro game console development, OBS, as you've seen, OBS, sort of, tinkering. If it's Linux and it's GPU accelerated or anything like that, we do VM and container optimization, so a whole bunch of stuff. So thank you all very much for the follows. I appreciate that. I think we should take ourselves over to one of the streams I think is very interesting right now. So thank you all very much for coming. I'm gonna end it here. If you like this stuff and you're not followed, please do follow, but also consider following over on Slim DevOps. So I do the streams over there as well. It's a lot like this, but it's all like container optimization stuff and developer experience and all of those sorts of things. So if you're into Linux and you're into development and you're into web development and infrastructure deployment, any of those things sound interesting to you, do get followed over there as well, because we do fun stuff over there. We've got something planned for this Thursday. This Thursday is the next stream over there, I think. Oh, right, okay, so Hakiri, then you probably want to give us a follow over at Slim DevOps. You'll probably find that there's stuff we do over there that you'll find interesting. Be delighted to see you over there at some point. And Thul says, that reminds me, I'm considering going for my AW DevOps certification. Right. And Hakiri said, I used Linux as my main system for 12 years and I run my own GPU pass-through setup for Mac. Ah, nice, okay. So, thank you for the follow. I'm going to have to update my goals there now.
Thank you for the follow, Herman VC.
And thank you, Herman, as well. Thank you all very much. So, yes, one of the projects that we work on here, sort of this stream kind of embodies a community of developers and enthusiasts, and one of the projects we work on here is QuickEmu, which is designed to run highly optimized VMs on desktop Linux, but also specifically Windows and Mac OS VMs. And it doesn't just like run the VM, it will download the operating systems for you and automatically stand everything up in the most optimal way that it can. And the next thing, well, the two things that I'm going to be working on next are GPU pass-through. We've done the USB stuff, we've got all that going. So it's GPU pass-through and also being able to run Raspberry Pi images on x86 hosts. So okay, so if you've read about QuickEmu, that's us. that's what we do here. One of the things we do here. So in the Discord we have a dedicated channel for it. It's an extremely active project, and I think Yannick is here. He's responsible for QuickGUI, the Flutter front end for QuickEmu, and Luke, who's in here, I am Luke H. He created the Quick Icons project, which now means we've got all of these fantastic high quality icons for the VMs that get created by the hypervisor wrapper. So yeah, we do all sorts of fun stuff here. It's a good crowd of people. We come up with some interesting stuff. Well, it doesn't matter if you can't do UIs, Hakiri, because Yannick can. I'm not a UI person either. I like sort of back-end systems integration stuff, so that's where I place myself, and then let the other guys do all the pretty stuff. So if you like the back-end stuff, come and help me out. Right, okay. We were gonna go and raid. Let's see if I still got in the buffer we have. Okay. Right. Thank you all for coming. If it wasn't for the fact I've got a full day of work ahead of me now, I would gladly stay here and continue this conversation, because this conversation is going in lots of interesting directions. I will be back streaming tomorrow morning. Well, a bit earlier than this, about an hour or 2 hours earlier than this time is usually when I start. So I'll be back tomorrow morning, and I think I'll be working on Retro Home, my new operating system for running retro emulation. It's basically a games console operating system for a Raspberry Pi to run retro games consoles. And I'm going to try and get PlayStation 1 stuff going on that, and validate that the first alpha image is ready, and maybe put that alpha image up for download so a wider group of people can stick that on their Raspberry Pis and test it over the holiday season. So Samara, thank you very much for the follow. Thank you. I really appreciate all the support today. It's been delightful. What's Luke saying here? Yannick here is saying that tonight on the Ubuntu On Air channel, which you'll also find on Twitch, feel free to paste links, mods to that. Yannick's going to be with Andrea Rihi, and they're going to be building a tiny Linux kernel live and from scratch. So that's on the Ubuntu. What time is that? I guess it will be in the schedule. So if you head over there, you'll be able to see what they'll be up to later today. Yes, tonight. And Kiri says, I might look into contributing to QuickEmu because I wanted to look in making a VFI helper. Yes. Yeah, I'd welcome the assistance for sure. That's definitely where I'm going to be focusing some attention. I think QuickEmu, I'm just going to be doing bug fixes and patches and merging pull requests over the sort of the holiday season. Get back to new feature active development in the new year. I really want to work on some fun projects over this sort of period, and that's why retro game stuff is where I'm going to be focusing my attention for like the next couple of weeks. But then early in the new year, QuickEmu is going to get some love again. Sesubara says, mind if I program some ideas? No, by all means. Happy to be of inspiration. I don't think anything I'm doing here is new. I watch a lot of other channels on Twitch, ideally not Linux channels, and see how they're pushing OBS and making best use of the tools available. And I'm trying to make sure that, you can do the same kind of quality productions and streams on Linux that you can on the other platforms. So yeah, feel free to take inspiration, but not just from me. You should be able to, copy anyone. The problem is just the lack of time. Isn't that always, though? Isn't that always? So what was this? When does your Stream Deck? I've got it. I'm not sure I understand the question. Oh, Steam Deck. Oh, Steam Deck. I am at the back end of that. So I wasn't a first mover when that was announced. So I think I put my pre-order in about 10 hours after it was announced. So I don't think I'm going to get one until like Q3 next year, factoring in the delays and what have you. So I'm not expecting to get one anytime soon. So don't expect me to make an operating system for it just yet, but maybe when I get one. Although Popey has said to me I may be able to bribe his daughter and get hers off her, and she's at the front of the queue. So we'll see. So that noob says theirs was due Q1 22 and it's been pushed back 2 months yet. Oh gosh, you're still waiting for a Librem 5. Oh dear, I don't envy you. Right. Okay, I tell you what, as there's a good number of people in here, let's just do a quick show of hands. Everyone just bang in chat the distribution that you're using. If you're a Linux user, what distro are you using? And if you're not a Linux user, what distro would you choose to use? I'm just interested to see what this looks like. Darwin. Dust. Get out. Ubuntu, Fedora, Ubuntu Mate, good choices. Ubuntu Mate, obviously Chelsea Cucumber for the win. Mac OS with Void. Okay, interesting. So you're using the thing. Cool. There's a good number going by there. So I saw some KDE, lots of Ubuntu, some more esoteric stuff as well. So Ubuntu again. Interesting. Chelsea Cucumber again. Good. And Mint as well. Excellent. Okay. So, and Pop OS. So a lot of Ubuntu based stuff. Interesting. That was only a straw poll, but that seemed to be a lot of Ubuntu. But Ubuntu related stuff. Does that seem like a fair assessment? I think so. Good way to get first time chatters talking. It did turn out to be a good way to get first time chatters talking. Also, I do try very hard. It's getting more difficult now, but I did make an effort to try and associate, the names with people and all the rest of it, so I know who's coming back and, joining in the chat and all the rest of it. So thank you for that. Let's complete that. I don't know why that was hanging there. Right, okay. And Tumbleweed as well. Yeah, there's been a resurgence of interest in SUSE recently, it seems. If I need a VM to tinker on, usually go with Ubuntu. Yeah. I knew my name is Yannick. I like your chat. Oh, Yannick, you silly boy. So, what we got here? Kiri says, oh, there we go. I modified my Pop OS install so much that I needed to manually fix it for each release upgrade. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, there is a point at which significant tinkering can backfire sometimes. I've been there for sure. Right then. Do you want to buy followers? Oh, Yannick. You'll get yourself auto mod banned. In fact, Luke, there's a spammer in chat. Right, let's kick this off. Thank you all very much for coming. I really appreciate the support and the followings today. I hope to see you back here soon. I'll be back tomorrow morning for more of this good stuff. And hopefully you'll see some other projects that we work on here and find those interesting too. So thanks very much for everyone. And I'll see you soon. We're going to head over to Software Pirate.
Wimpy's World, rating with a party of 38. What's up, dude? What is up? Oh no, the processor's like